We're yet to see if GTA 5's character switch will become a staple of the series going forward, but the lack of the multi-protagonist feature in Red Dead 2 was not really at all surprising to see. I mean, technically there are 2 playable protagonists in the game as a whole, of course, but the dynamic of GTA 5's character switch completely shaped the rest of the game. Michael, Franklin, Trevor, 3 somewhat unlikely friends, each packed full of personality and a vicious hard-on for the Benjis. Bank robberies, assassinations, grand theft, and public humiliations. What we got up to with these 3 simply wouldn't have been the same without their own fully fleshed out perspectives. Whether you're a fan of the character switch approach to the game or not, GTA 5 was built with this vision in mind. Built with the intention for the player to experience the chaos of Grand Theft Auto through the eyes of not 1, but 3 psychopaths.
Remember, there is only mass, fluidity, and incompressibility.
But Red Dead 2 was of course built differently. Built with completely different goals and intentions in mind. Rockstar wanted you to slowly grow more and more attached to Arthur Morgan. They wanted you to experience his inner conflict as he struggles to balance the growth of new perspectives in a life that was simply too fast and too dangerous to explore them. We're going character analysis mode now, boys. Sit straight down and strap in. Nah, but anyway, Red Dead 2, both in story and more so gameplay, almost made you feel alone despite being part of a gang. Oftentimes, it's just you and your horse out on the trails, you and your horse eating by the fire, you and your horse trotting across the country, occasionally accompanied by the dismembered body of a man who told you to watch where you were going in Valentine 3 days ago, but you get my point. You're Arthur Morgan. You're part of a gang, but your wants and your morals are changing. The outlaw life kinda fucking sucks, and the further you go into the game, the more Arthur wants out. That's what you're experiencing. That's the sole perspective. The odd sense of isolation would never have worked had Rockstar followed GTA 5's character switch into Red Dead 2. But what if they did it anyway? The basis of this completely hypothetical reality is really quite shallow. It's never been more than a slight thought I had from the moment Red Dead 2 was announced. But now that so much time has passed and so many hours have been put into this game, I do often wonder how unrecognizable it would have been had they have gone this route. The Red Dead 2 we all know and love and strongly dislike, it simply wouldn't be. And as you saw in the beginning there, I did try my absolute best to visualize what Red Dead 2 would look like in a character switch reality, and it is rough because my editing skills don't go much further than impact font zoom in funny video game soundtrack, but I did it just to get a sense, you know, for fun. And what a weird game this would have been had it been built around the character switch mechanic. The thought alone is just so odd to me because almost everything from the framework of the game to the fine details would have to change. To facilitate a mechanic like that, the entire experience has to be built around it. It's hard to imagine Red Dead 2 without that individual perspective that most of the game carries. And I'm sure it's been said a million times, but half the impact of the entire story was being down on your luck with Arthur, you know? You and your boy are just going through it together for like 80 hours straight. You overestimate your ability after taking on the entire US police force, you know? You and your boy are just going through it. You catch a life-threatening disease during one of the hardest months of your life, you know, you and your boy are just going through it. I suppose you could say this for like a shit ton of single-player games, but it's so emphasized in Red Dead 2, especially since so much of your playtime is out alone in the wilderness, picking berries or sweeping first-degree murders under the rug, you know? This is really just a long-winded way of saying that it would be completely contrary to what the game is as we know it for multiple characters to take the spotlight. But hey, that doesn't mean that with a sprinkle of imagination we can't get a sense for what that would be like. What if Arthur, Charles, and Sadie were our 3 playable protagonists? What if Arthur and Charles were our introductory characters, similar to how Franklin and Michael were beyond prologue? And what if Sadie was introduced further down the line, alike to Trevor's later inclusion? Whenever the loose idea of Red Dead character switch pops into my mind, it's always these 3 that I imagine as our playable protagonists. Starting off with Arthur and Charles in the snow, and then later unlocking Sadie in Chapter 3, after she insists on becoming a more prominent figure in the game. It could be kind of epic. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a game designer, dude. You want to switch to Sadie and destroy some O'Driscolls, bro? Be my guest. You want to exact revenge through the lens of the widow herself? Dismantle the entire O'Driscoll organization piece by piece? I mean, fuck it, man, let's have 4 characters. Throw Uncle in there too. He might have chronic lower back pain, but I imagine experiencing the wild, wild west through his eyes would provide only the richest and most enthralling gameplay possible. So Arthur, of course, has his complete story already set out. I mean, we've played it, right? A multi-character interference would still be weird, but I imagine it could coexist with others if they were somewhat connected, but primarily had their own path to explore. What I imagine is if Sadie and Charles had a sort of side plot of their own, while still contributing to the main plot too. You know that poaching mission that you do with Charles early in the game? You go out hunting for bison and you come across a few who have just been slaughtered, shot and killed with no reason, left out in the plains, and Charles is just fucking pissed, dude, because Charles has this deep-rooted respect for wildlife. He talks quite a lot about how bison especially have provided him with food, clothing, shelter, tools, ever since he was a child. It's so ingrained in his character to hunt respectfully and with reason, and to see these animals just killed and left to rot. It's the first time we see this calm and stoic character absolutely lose his shit. And while the reason is horrible and the situation sucks, seeing him just lay this poaching bastard out with a sawed-off shotgun is one of my favorite parts in the game. It's fucking juicy, dude. I always thought this mission felt like a genuine setup for something more. And I know that it was primarily used as a way for the player to get a better sense for Charles and his personality, but the breadcrumbs were well and truly sprinkled all throughout the mission.
What the hell are you doing?
Why are you killing those bison and leaving them to rot?
I don't know what you're talking about.
God damn it, tell us or you're dead.
Oh, okay. We were paid to kill as many as we could and make it look like it was Indians.
Just kill him, Arthur.
I'm thinking, there is definitely a little story to be told there. That is so straightforward, in your face and explicit that I'm surprised it didn't lead to more in the actual game. The mission ends with Charles riding off in frustration as Arthur stays back to loot anything useful. But in our character switch reality, I'd of course like things to go a little bit differently. Using the breadcrumbs that were already laid in the actual game, let's extend this a little bit further. Rather than Charles riding off at the end of the mission, we'll have Arthur ride off instead. And as he does, the option to switch to Charles will become available. And here is around about where the Charles sub-story would really come into play. Arthur rides off, while Charles stays back at the camp to further investigate. Seeing as I'd spared the second poacher while playing as Arthur, Charles could begin tracking him, eventually catching up and following him all the way back to an even larger settlement of poachers. I'm thinking like a Shady Belle kind of deal, right? And it's just packed to the brim with trophy hunters, a whole group of them. I'm imagining them sort of getting introduced as another gang in the game, you know? You've got all the different factions of the game. O'Driscolls, Lemoyne Raiders, Skinner Brothers, Nightfolk, there's tons of them. Let's add poachers to the list. You guys in the comments can come up with a cool name for them, alright? Because I'm about as creative as a broomstick handle, but you get the idea, right? Let's have a Charles story where you poach the poachers. This is one of the only situations I can think of where Charles might be fired up enough to actively hunt people down. Maybe he just sees their trail of destruction while looking for them, countless needlessly killed animals, and then he finally catches up with the culprits. Rockstar alluded to quite a lot in such a small mission, and again, I know it was mostly character building and world building kind of stuff, but I can definitely see a little side story in there. I can see it. It's there. It's tiny, but it's there. But for now, let's leave most of it up to interpretation, okay? Rockstar, you have my full permission to run with this idea, okay? Remake the game with 3 playable characters and use this idea all you want. I accept payment in any of the currencies you can see on screen here. Any excuse for more Charles, really. I mean, you can count me in. I'm a simp for Charles Smith, what else can I say? I did say before even going into making this video that I wanted to avoid making it too long, because I know that I could just ramble for centuries about potential side stories for these characters. Like, at the end of the day, as I said before, none of these concepts, as basic as I'm describing them, could ever work in the Red Dead 2 that we know now. But if we're still running with our imaginations here, you know, Sadie is more or less already explained. She has a pretty one-track motivation from the moment she comes out of her shell in Chapter 3. Her husband was murdered. What else do you want? The person she was gonna happily spend the rest of her life with in a snowy shack in the middle of nowhere was literally moided, and she knows the exact organization that are responsible. I don't think I need to spell this one out whatsoever for you. I mean, what a fucking cool storyline that would be to play through. Just go and mow some O'Driscolls down, stuff it. Need there be a story at all at this point? This is already something I really enjoyed watching unfold in the regular game, because Sadie just about goes insane hunting the O'Driscolls down. She's a very different character to who you see in the beginning. By the time we reach Chapter 6, she's exhausted, she's endured just as much, if not more, than anyone in the gang, but she's still hell-bent on exacting her revenge. I like to think that in the regular game, we don't see a good portion of her journey. To be honest, I mean, whenever I really get back into Red Dead, I look at these two characters and I kinda always want just that little bit more from them. The characters in this game are half the reason I love it so much. It's why most of my Red Dead content is centered around the individuals. As I said in the beginning, multiple playable characters would mostly take away from what Red Dead 2 is, in my opinion, but I always find the idea fun to think about in terms of what's next for Rockstar. Will they shoot for the character switch in GTA 6? Will we see GTA 6 at all? I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you enjoyed yet another one of my excuses to ramble about these beautiful, law-abiding citizens. Thank you all so much for watching. Massive thank you to my patrons as well. You guys are helping me to even make these videos possible. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay hydrated. Maybe even use Twitter less. I mean, that might be better for your health than anything.